We're out at a park reserve this morning, and yeah, it's kind of blah out, I guess. The weather's nice, but the colors are pretty muted. I'm looking forward to spring, so we get a little bit more growth and color, hopefully. This is an interesting photo. I really like how the trees sit on the hillside with nice contrast. It's really pleasing. But then you look at the giant black blob of brush that dominates the right-hand side. I don't know where I land on this one. I think I still like it overall. I had really high hopes for this shot given the contrast of the morning sun hitting the trees in the background. But I think it's just too busy for it to stand out, so you don't really know what your subject is here. I still like it, but it could have been executed a bit better. And I think this one is one of my favorite shots of the day. I really like the multitude of stuff going on here. The grass in the foreground, the snow-covered ice in the midground, and then some interesting trees way in the back. I think this composition works okay. And now we're out a little bit more in the open. You might be able to hear the wind on the microphone, but kind of transition from more woodland area, and then now we're a little bit more into the prairie. And I like this mix. It makes me switch things up a little bit and look at the landscape a little differently, and also switch up lenses and all that good stuff. So adds a little bit of a challenge. Here are a series of panoramas that I'll go through. I didn't like this one at first, as I thought it looked much better in person, but when I look at it again, it's growing on me. I like the subtle changes in the landscape as you look across the vast open area of the prairie. I think this one is my second favorite shot of the day. I like the variety of landscape here with the woodlands, the prairie, and then you catch a glimpse of the frozen pond on the right-hand side. I think this one fits together nicely. In this one, I tried to get a stretch that shows the barn that is hidden way in the back on the left-hand side, with the interesting prairie and pond out in front of it. This one turned out a bit bland, if I'm honest. The open prairie also is fun because this park has a lot of birds, geese and swans. But I don't know, I'm not the greatest wildlife photographer. And usually when I get a shot, it's up in the air, high contrast, not super easy to edit those. And honestly, unless you get a really nice close-up one, and sharp in focus, it's probably not that interesting either. So it's always a bit of a gamble. I've captured a few geese flying over, but you know, Canadian geese are a dime a dozen, seems like. So not sure if it's interesting or not, but still fun to try.
This one I like since you have the blackish water with the white feathers of the swans that sync up nicely with the white ice-covered river at the top of the frame. And this one may have been better without the swans, I'm not sure. I tried something a bit different with the reflection of the trees, but perhaps the swans at the top make it kind of messy. I thought they might work together well, but perhaps not. And to show that I'm not that great at wildlife photography, here are those same swans flying by. I'm just happy they're in focus. I darkened the background a bit to make the birds stand out a bit more as well. Here are some Canadian geese I mentioned earlier. I think the shot turned out okay. I picked one where their wings were in pretty much similar positions and the birds were in a pleasing pattern. I also like the contrast of the birds against the bluish sky. And here I'm always a sucker for birch trees, and I tried to line up some grass in front of them. I went back and forth on where to focus, and I decided on the grass, leaving the trees a bit out of focus. And here is my final photo of the day. This is that barn I tried to capture earlier in the panorama that I didn't like. This one's a bit better, I think. I like how it sits within the scene with the red color of the barn adding some interest.
Well, it'll probably end up being about 4.5 mile total walk, and I think we're heading back at the right time. The ground is starting to thaw out, and so a lot of puddles and a lot of mud spots. So good time to head back before it gets too muddy and dirty and slippery. So actually, I think I had a couple of decent shots, and after we went by the river, there were a couple of swans. Hopefully I got some decent shots of them on the water and then also flying by. So very curious to see how they turn out. So if you stuck around to the end, I appreciate it and hope to catch you again in the next one. Take care.